start. Obviously, it's your second year at Tennessee, but a little bit new responsibilities this year. What's that kind of adjustment been like this offseason?
It's been good. Last year, we kind of helped Mike with the defense and, focused in on it. I think, coming into it, you always knew that, Mike has done a great job with Coach. He was well overdue for his opportunity to be a head coach. And so I don't think any of us were caught off guard when, his phone was ringing to be a head coach. And so we were prepared, you know what I mean? And so had a chance to, last year, really sit down and watch and ask the questions and the why questions, why we do this, why we do that, and really learn the system. And so this summer, as we do with all parts of our offense, we're able to put it under the microscope and have your own flavor of like what you thought we did well, where we can change and make some adjustments and be better. And so, for me, that has, that role, I think I'm prepared for it and excited about it.
Stepping into a bigger role with defense, how much easier does that make it when you'll have as many proven defensive guys coming back?
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier. It makes it a lot easier because, one, I don't think, a lot of times it's not about what you do, it's how you do it. And, the level of detail, the execution, and then the force that you do it with. And so having guys that have been through it before, and, most of them, they've been on two really, really like top 5 defensive teams. So they know what it looks like. They know what it feels like when you're playing at that level and when you're not. And so it doesn't always take me, Coach Barnes, Coach Polinsky, Coach Clark to step in and say, hey, no, that's not right. Like, they know it. They know it even before it happens. So that makes it a lot easier. And also just their ability to help teach because, we do have a lot of old guys, but then we also have a good amount of new guys. And so those older guys helping teach, grabbing Tobey, hey, man, this is what he means by this. This is what it should look like. This is how it should feel. That's always helpful, too. 1
weekend to, I guess, official practice, what worries you about the defense? Where do you feel like you guys have a lot of room to grow?
Yeah, I would say as everywhere I've ever been, and I think every program, like probably the toughest part of defense is the transition defense. I always think you can always get better there. Guys sprinting back, guys getting matched up, because it takes a level of of detail, of discipline, of getting back every single time, but also the talk part of it because you don't necessarily have a man in transition. So you're always getting matched up. You're always trying to figure it out. And then within that play, trying to fix it where, okay, Sakai's guarding their 5. Within that possession, we got to try to fix it and get our 5 back on there. So transition D is always something I don't think you're ever going to be satisfied with. And so that's one area. And then I would just say the other area, just, guarding the ball, right? Just guarding the ball, being tenacious on the ball through an entire possession.
You just kind of hit on it a minute ago, but I think maybe 3rd in KenPom adjusted defensive efficiency last year. Is there a specific area that you feel like maybe the ceiling is higher defensively with this group than last year, or things that y'all can throw at opponents that y'all couldn't?
Yeah, I think, we do have a lot of depth, and so I think we'll be able to, especially at the guard position, we'll be able to get after guys a little bit more, be able to extend a little bit more in our pressure in certain situations. So I think, I think that area for us this year will be something that we'll be able to do a little more frequently.
Jonas in his second year, obviously Olivier missed a lot of time. Do you feel like rim protection could be a bigger strength than it was last year?
Yeah, I think so. And you felt it last year, especially when Jonas was in the rotation and he was healthy and he was back playing. Like you felt the difference that rim protection made. And I do see that. I do see that because those are our 2 best rim protectors. And Jonas battled with injuries early on, and then late Olivier battled with injury. And so having both of those guys back, being able to change shots, alter shots in the basket, I think it helps our defense and it helps our transition attack game too.
What's the significance of having not only just 2 seniors, but Josiah and Santi have played a lot of minutes since their freshman season? Yeah. What's the significance of having 2 guys like that?
It's important, man, because number one, they've been through the good and the bad, right?
Yeah.
They've experienced like what it feels like to get your butt kicked and also to win an SEC championship. And, I think with those two guys, and I would throw Urosh in there, I would throw Olivier in there as well, is like, those guys are hungry. Like, they hear all the rumblings and the noise, and they are hungry for more. They're not satisfied with just the SEC championship. Like, they want more. And so I'm excited to see that. And you see it in practice with their level of detail, how they're coaching the guys up and they're talking to them. So it is tremendous to have them because, it'll be easy for you have new guys. You're coming off an SEC championship. Oh, man, we've arrived.
Yeah.
They don't allow you to be complacent.
Yeah.
They don't. Like, no, we're not. This is it for us. We're not going out like that. This is, that's the standard. Here we go.
I guess going back to your days as a player, for those guys, do you ever get to a point, I guess it probably changes at different levels, but do you ever get to a point where you feel like you've kind of seen everything that college basketball, everything that the SEC has to throw at you, or is it kind of a continuous, you always feel like there's something else out there that you haven't seen?
Yeah, I think you do get to a point where it's not much more somebody could throw at you, and as an older guy like Santi and Josiah, who's logged heavy minutes, like, I think they are, and the other thing they're high IQ guys, and so I don't think there's no situation that they see and they say, man, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to attack that. I don't know how to react to that. Like, I think, at this point, they've seen it all, and they feel comfortable on how they're going to attack different things, whether it's defenses, whether it's whether it's locker room situations, whether it's whatever. It's really, I think they're in a great place where they've seen a lot, they've been through a lot, and they can help our other guys get through some of the things that they've already been through.
Santi told me one of his main things he's focused on this offseason was playing on the ball. Mm-hmm. How much have you seen him improve there, and how important is that with, obviously you have Sky back, but not an obvious backup point guard or other second point guard, I guess?
Yeah, I think it's huge that somebody emerges as another ball handler. Whether it's Santi, whether it's Tyreek, whether it's BJ, somebody else has to emerge as that guy. Santi has worked hard on that this summer, I think, and he spent a lot of time with his national team, so he was able to kind of have some, on-ball duties as well. And so I think it's big for him. I think it's big for him for here, and I think it's big for him as he moves forward, in his basketball career. But he is, making improvements in that area, and it's an area that we want to continue to see him grow in.
What does Tyreek bring to this team?
Tyreek, I think the obvious thing is just his ability to score the basketball. He can score it from all different areas in a lot of different ways. And so that would be the first thing I would say. The other thing I would say is just his versatility, because as you watch him on film, as you watch him from last year and previous years, not last year, but, previous years, a lot of his stuff came with catch and shoot situations and not a lot of playmaking, but, we're pleasantly surprised by his ability to make plays with the ball in his hands. So he's a versatile Swiss Army knife type of guy.
He told me that after his sophomore season is really when that shoulder started bothering him. Just how much different does his shot look now that his shoulder's completely healthy than it maybe did his last couple of years?
Yeah, I didn't really get to see much of, probably that sophomore year shooting or whatnot. So I'm not real familiar with what the stroke looked like then. Yeah. All I know now is this is a pretty shot as you're going to find in college basketball. I mean, he shoots a really pretty ball.
Yeah. What about him with the ball handling? And you mentioned him as being one of those guys that could become a second ball handler on this team.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there's a lot of room to grow there for him, or as a whatever it is, fifth-year senior, he kind of is what he is and he's just kind of fill a role?
I think it's a lot of room for growth, just because he's never did it before, and and when we put him in those situations, he has some natural instincts, right? And I think his biggest gift with it is his patience, his poise. Like, you can't speed him up, and as you talk to him over there, he's got that laid back, cool demeanor. Like, that's how he is on the court. And so, yeah, he'll play with pace, but he's never going to be where he's not comfortable. And so, you know, if you look at our stats, our practice stats, he is the ball handler probably with the best assist to turnover ratio right now. You know, the best ball handler with it. So excited about it. Really excited about it.
Coach Barnes talked last week about how with Santi gone playing international this summer, BJ kind of got thrown straight into the fire with guarding Zakai and having Zakai guard him every day at practice. Just how beneficial you think that is for him to not even before he gets to his first official practice that he's kind of been battle tested a little bit.
Huge, man. It's huge because, you know, Zakai is one of those guys that he's battle tested, and there's not a tougher guy in the country than him. And so he doesn't pick and choose when he brings it. Zakai is one way. What you see in the game is what you see in practice, what you see in practice, what you see in the game. So he's getting him. They're getting live game reps against live game rep defense. And so that can only help him, because if you think about it in high school, you know, like I don't care what level high school you're playing, you know, you're not running up against a guy like Zakai that's going to be under you and hounding you and working you. Like, you're not going to be against that every day in practice, you know, or in the games. And so it can be an adjustment. And so now he's having to battle against that every day, as well as Tyreek, as well as Santi. It doesn't do anything but help, you know. And also, like, he's got to chase Santi around.
Yeah.
Like, think about how hard that is. Like, I mean, you know, Santi never stops moving. He's always running. And you know, like, BJ's been playing all over the court, you know. And so he's having to, you know, deal with Zakai, deal with Sant. You know, I mean, it's nothing but good for him.
How much growth did you see from time he's been on campus to now?
BJ, he's grown a lot. He has. He's grown a lot. You know, his pace is a lot better. He's did a lot of, you know, work on his shot, and you can see it. It's still not, you know, where he wants it, but the foundation, the base is there, and so it's, you know, it's nowhere to go but up from there. But he's really grown a lot.
All right, Coach.
All right, man.
Appreciate it so
Thank
much.
you. Yep.
I guess let's start 1 week into official practice. Kind of where do you feel like this team is at?
Man, you know what? I'm excited about this team. I think that, you know, crazy enough, we have a little bit more depth than we had last year. Obviously, even more experience. We have a lot of hungry young guys that have a chance to be really good. And our older guys have all made a jump. And I think that the leadership is solidified, whereas last year we were figuring out a little bit of the leadership with guys that are just kind of getting into that role, whereas this year we have a lot of guys that are carrying over into that role. So, and, you know, we got guys that got rings. You know what I mean? So that's exciting. And that also raises expectations for us. But overall, this team is shaping up to be a good one.
What's the significance of having two guys like Josiah and Santi that not only are they senior leaders, but they've both played a lot since their freshman season? They've probably seen just about everything SEC basketball can throw at them.
Man, honestly, it's extremely significant. Like, it's days I wake up and in the morning, I'm so thankful that we have them. And those two guys, I say as coaches all the time, they're going to be really hard to replace. Just the basketball IQ, the knowledge, the ability to understand what makes each of their teammates tick, how to push them, when to give them space, when to be extremely vocal, when to be extremely motivating, and then when to get on your guys and push them to the next level. So they're great leaders. They really are. Santi a little bit less vocal than Joe is, but he's more of a lead by example guy, whereas Joe leads with his voice and pushes guys to get to that next level. But they both, man, they're hard guys to replace, man.
Where have you seen those two grow the most this offseason?
I've seen Santi, honestly, I've seen him expand his game a little bit more, which is great. I think that was something that everybody wanted to see for him last year, kind of improving his ball handling even a little bit more. I think that he improved his passing, which was great. I think his defense improved as well. And then with Josiah, man, I think that he kind of expanded his game as far as being able to isolate in the mid-post elbow area that he kind of got better at the end of last year with the fadeaways and things like that. So he kind of expanded and built off of that.
Obviously, you have Zakai, but not really an obvious second point guard or on-ball guy. Santi growing as a ball handler and as a passer, how important is that to be able to, for him to step up in kind of a different spot when y'all need it?
Yeah, it's going to be huge. Him, Tyreek Key is a guy that we kind of pushed into that role of having to have a lot of ball handling responsibilities. DJ Edwards, obviously being a young guy, that's going to have to take some of those ball handling responsibilities. So that's going to be a big deal, man. Z, me and him have had a lot of talks over the summer. We've had a lot of talks since we've gotten back going, and he understands the responsibility that he has. And at the end of the day, he doesn't stress about it because that's just who he is. He's going to play to win, and he's going to play to, compete at the highest level. But I think everyone in our program can see that he's made a lot of strides going from the end of last year to this year as far as him being a true point guard.
What stands out about Tyreek's game?
Tyreek can put that ball in the bucket, man. He has a really good feel for scoring the ball. He's a really good jump shooter. He is a really hard worker. He's came in here and he's kind of fit our program really to a T because he's in the gym as much as anybody, if not more. But I think that he definitely helped us as far as the scoring margin. And whereas last year we had games where we got in some lows scoring-wise, and we didn't have that guy that we could just throw the ball, isolate, and go get us a bucket or go get fouled or go get us an easy high percentage shot. I think we found that in Tyreek.
With BJ, Coach Barnes talked about last week how he gets here, Santi's playing with the international team, and he's basically thrown into the fire of facing Sakai every day at practice.
Yeah.
How beneficial was that for him, and how did you see him kind of embrace that challenge?
Yeah, no, it was great because he embraced it completely every day. When it was who's the point guard, he was stepping up, taking the ball for his team. He had to guard Zakai every day, which is a tough task.
Yeah.
He had to be guarded by Zakai every day, which is an even tougher task. And, it was days I had to call him at night. Hey, man, you good? Hey, man, I got to get this, coach. I got to get that. And, I had to tell him, not to give him an excuse, but I told him, I was like, listen, I know you're struggling. You're trying to enter the ball. You're working really hard. You're still doing a good job. You're having some really good days, but the dude guarding you was the first freshman in Tennessee basketball history to win all SEC defense.
Yeah.
He's pretty good. There's a lot of guards in our league that don't get by him.
Yeah.
So it's okay. Like, you get by him more than other guys in our league. So he handled it and embraced it really well. And he had some days when he was really, really good, and you saw how good of a player he's going to be.
Where have you seen him grow the most since from the time he's got here to now?
I would say his understanding of what we do, how we play, understanding the pace at which we play, the speed of the game. He's done a great job of kind of picking up his play every day and elevating to that level. Because, I think the hardest thing for these freshmen, man, it's a blessing, but it's a hard thing for them. Every day they're in here, they're going hard, and they have days where they're just not very good. And I try to help them by helping them understand, step back. You got to realize that you're playing with some guys that finished on the number 5 team in the country last year and won a ring in the SEC. So you're supposed to struggle. They're really good. It's okay. But they don't understand how much that's helping them for the long run, and I'm excited to see where they go.
Appreciate it, Rob, man.
My
A lot
man.
of good stuff.
Yep. Great.